Okay. Oh yeah, I need to adjust the text because it says it's episode 193. It's like, no, that was last week. Right, let's adjust that accordingly. And you know, I was gonna save this for a little bit later, but I think we're gonna have this now. And
Oh,
this is something I'm. Everybody knows this. I am. Oh, I see what. Yeah, I see what it's doing in there. Right, I need to get another window up because yeah, it was focusing on the live window from my Twitch, so I need to
yep.
yeah, I need to adjust that real quick because otherwise that's gonna get weird.
Apologies, folks.
eh, no, I don't want that. Oh no, 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 no! Don't focus on our Discord. No, 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 no.
No. Oh, dear Lord, I'm turning into Shia LaBeouf.
That could have been real awkward. It's like,
Oh,
ooh,
no, 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 no.
this is what you post privately. No, it isn't. No, it is not.
No.
Okay, avoided that little piece. Yeah, I'm gonna post something that well,
Guys, what's up?
most of you know that I'm very passionate about this particular genre of music. Now, because there's some copyrighted imagery and audio, I'm not going to have this in the side that Twitch can see, so we'll see how it goes. But folks, this is going to be 20 minutes of not only of, you know, of education, but it's like, oh shit, I got to find out some of these songs later. Give me some of that. Because I came across this yesterday, just sort of thinking of things to add, and I'm like, oh shit! It's like this is good stuff. I was like, you know, give me some of this. I'm gonna have the volume mixer toned down a little bit. Oh, it's already toned down on Google Chrome, so Twitch won't throw a fit over it. Discord.
Thank goodness.
Discord volume needs to be up just a little bit more because audio problems is always an inconsistency on this show.
Yeah. Yeah, you live and you learn.
That you do.
Ooh. And we got Kit in the chat.
Patient Zero. It's all good. It's all good, Kit.
Yeah, just concentrate on getting better. Just make sure you get plenty of rest and drink plenty of orange juice. Yeah.
And try not to get irritated by antics. I'll be good. Kit looks like, yeah, you better be.
Yeah. Of course you will, Mr. Rikaku-san.
Mr. Rakaku, your mission, you choose to accept it. Be good, and you will get Dominoes by the end of the week. It's like, sits cross-legged. I'll be good. I'll be good. It's like, good.
And I'm at 0-0.
Raiden, you're at 0?
Hold on, just clicked on it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm ready.
Oh.
Oh?
And
I'm ready.
apparently Kit has orange juice and cookies.
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 Okay. In 3, 2,
You guys are.
3, 2, 1, play.
Hey guys, what's up? It's your boy from Down Under Daydream Deluxe, and today we're going to be having ourselves a history lesson on something that has been in the works for quite a while now. We've seen a lot of videos revolving around Vaporwave and its foundation, but one thing that hasn't been talked about all that often is the origins of this particular subgenre that we're going to be dissecting today. Despite there being a fair amount of videos that have given it a good general analysis, we haven't actually seen anyone dive deeper into the rabbit hole to see where it all began. So I thought I'd do the honor of going all across the web and get as much accurate detail as I could and compile it all into this one video. I'm not 100% on every inch of the most accurate detail described in this video, but I feel as though I've covered the most important facts that we need to know. And if worse comes to worse, I can always make another video to sync up with this one in the near future, but for now, we're going to be focusing on what's happening in this one right now. So strap yourselves in because it's going to be a long trip down memory lane, and I really hope you enjoy this video. So let's get into it. Vaporwave has come a long way since its first conception, dating back to 2009 with Sunset Corp's Nobody Here. Thanks to producers such as James Ferraro, Vectroid, and Monotrix Point Never contributing to the first wave of Vaporwave, we have seen hundreds upon thousands of artists from all over the world uniting together to establish their craft. With a vast amount of resources, we have instant access to
Vaporwave via SoundCloud.
All it takes is just a simple YouTube search for a Japanese city pop song, an online audio converter to download the MP3, and a DAW to retexture.
I usually use that website.
All the experimentation that has taken place within the community has birthed a myriad of genres at a rapid pace and continue to be celebrated online. And one of the genres that we'll be dissecting today is none other than future funk.
Already bobbing my head.
Doesn't take much.
If you've been in the scene long enough,
got a good beat.
The compositional structure that has revolved around the likes of Super Sex 420, Night Tempo, Saint
Oh,
and Flamingos.
Night Tempo's my go-to.
Incarnation of Vaporwave's more cheerful and euphoric counterpart. The frequent yet catchy use of an 80s funk or city pop track with all of its excess fat cut from the mix has evolved ever since Barb Walters, EV.EXI, Fiber, and many other names of that caliber stepped in and cooked up some of the most astonishing material we've come to love. But before such producers would break the mold by implementing their own melodies and execute more complex and sporadic technique styles of sample chopping reminiscent of French house, there was your standard recycled looping with a very basic drum pattern at 120 BPM that to this day, we all still have fun jamming on our speakers. While we have a firm idea of how the genre of Vaporwave started out,
Mobile Sailor Gundam. Oh, don't give Rony ideas.
when did future funk truly begin? Where did the name come from, and how did it
Could be
expand into
worse.
something
He could be
more
dressing up like a
significant
princess.
Well, before we
Don't do
delve
that.
into finding a more definitive answer to where it all started, there is one particular timeline that we need to travel back to. Before Business Casual, Correspect, My Pet Flamingo, and DMT Tapes became havens for Vaporwave, there was another label that not only deemed a legendary status for playing a major part in the first wave of the genre, but apparently coined the term future funk. That label responsible was Keats Collective. Founded in the winter of late 2011 in Fort Collins, Colorado, Keats Collective has been held in high regard amongst the community and has since remained as one of the most imperative names to have been involved in the early years of Vaporwave. The label's first set of releases primarily stemmed from its founder, Dinosaurus Rex, with 4 of his own records: EP, self-entitled, Cosby Sweater, and Pop Information. Soon after, Dinosaurus Rex would recruit a handful of newcomers to Keats Collective with a compilation series named after the label, along with a handful of albums and EPs from Black Jordan, Kev Boss, Box of Wolves, and Crowns. Most of the music at the time had been referred to as disco, hip-hop, and chillwave. However, there were a few tracks listed on Keats Collective Volume 1 that could possibly be considered as some of the earliest prototypes of future funk, including The Extra Mile by Metro and Your Love Is Lifting Me by Occulture. Despite this claim, there was no real verification or an inkling of any kind that solidified the term until March 6, 2013 on Volume 3 of the Keats Collective compilation, where the description simply said, Future Funk's Finest, which was supposedly the earliest documentation of when this phenomenon was phrased. I don't have any conclusion on when the title was specifically invented, but that's as far as I could go as to when it became a category for Vaporwave. However, on the 31st of May in 2013, everything would change significantly for not just Keats Collective or the Vaporwave community, but possibly the whole music scene on the internet. Just on the brink of summer, Keats Collective and all of Bandcamp would be blessed with a particular record from a college student based in the East Coast. This would later become the label's holy grail, the creme de la creme of their entire catalogue that many to this day believe was the prime mover of future funk. That album was Hip Vibes by Saint Pepsi.
Oh, yes.
St. Pepsi remains as one of Vaporwave's most iconic LPs to date, and has obtained a legendary status with the likes of Macintosh Plus's Floral Shop and Chuck Person's Echo Jam's.
MJ, I think I have a couple of future funk songs that I can show you there.
Sweet.
Yeah, I found some via this YouTube channel by the name of Puro Wave that shows like Japanese wrestling with tribute to wrestlers with future funk songs.
Nice. Ooh.
Hey, Carlton.
Oh yeah.
Many people were perplexed that despite it being Vaporwave, there was no specific label or subgenre that anyone could think of to classify it as. Considering that it was St. Pepsi's main proclivity in his creative space, there had already been a variety of debates that regarded it as such.
That dude really needs to extend his extension cord on his headphones.
Yeah. And Bluetooth headphones exist, though.
Exactly.
St. Pepsi had already been experimenting with a plethora of disco and funk samples from the 70s and 80s before hit vibes was a preconceived idea. Some examples of how this notion could arguably have been blueprinted for future funk include Challenger, Shaolin, Pineapple Juniors, and We Can Make It. As people were discussing through multiple threads online about the sonic fingerprint of hit vibes, another album would appear that same year on Keats Collective's Bandcamp that had taken an approach akin to St. Pepsi's masterpiece. The 6th of November saw Macross 8299's debut, Neo Tokyo, as the next step to help push Vaporwave and its new upbeat counterpart even further. Neo Tokyo harbored an equal balance of the traditional hypnagogic, down-tempo jazzy nature and a groovier, funkier formula.
Yeah, some Bandcamp users do actually offer up their downloads for free, or just like pay whatever you feel like you want to. I always give them a little something because hey, they go to the effort of making these great tracks. While everyone was still trying to grasp this somewhat new music genre called Vaporwave that continued to spawn hundreds of albums all over Bandcamp, producers from all over the world would later discover this future funk tag trending throughout the site. It wasn't long before they would carve their own take on this new bouncy genre that the culture had been growing attached to the following year in 2014. The amount of people getting involved around then started to multiply, seeing releases from newcomers such as Roller Girl, Supersex 420, Lancaster, Conscious Thoughts, and many more. With all of these new artists releasing new content by the day, Future Funk and Vaporwave needed another platform to promote and visualize what exactly it was that we were hearing. One name in particular that was known and held in high regard for the aesthetic that we see in the culture today was by a YouTuber called Arty Music. Branded as the #1 destination for unique music. Their YouTube channel, good lord.
Songs from St. Pepsi, Esprit, Metro, Luxury Elite, and Mesh. Just about everything in their library consisted of a nostalgia-driven track top up with a looping gif of either a clip that came out of a movie, TV show, or an advertisement from the 80s.
Ooh.
While Arty Music had a loyal following between 2013 and 2014 when Future Funk was still so young, the channel would see an increase of views and subscribers after uploading more and more of what St. Pepsi and Macross 8299 had been composing. The appeal of these artists and their music, as well as how minimalist
Night at the Roxbury.
of the videos were, would continue to attract more visitors to Arty Music's channel.
The Butabi brothers.
Yeah, I'm gonna be downloading this one later.
The audience just wanted more, and some of them even took it upon themselves to craft their own take of this new marvel that they encountered through Arty Music. With copious amounts of Japanese city pop and Western disco songs being chopped, screwed, and decorated with basic 808 drum patterns being made by the day, it was time for Arty Music to step their game up in promoting all of these bangers. There also came the question as to what kind of visual gimmicks could articulate that golden 80s sensation with this new music. What if the imagery of Greek statues, synthetic pop plants, and Fiji water bottles just weren't enough to help cement this more upbeat nature of this nostalgia-driven culture? What eventually came to fit the spectacle would later put both Arty Music and Future Funk on the map of the YouTube community. The aesthetic of old-school anime.
Hey, Lon.
Though anime wasn't exactly an uncommon feat that appeared in the visuals of all the vaporwave tunes that had been surfacing throughout YouTube at the time, artsy's frequent use of these clips would later become a staple to the imagery of future funk. The web would soon find countless tracks on SoundCloud and Bandcamp and screenshots, GIFs, and videos from Dirty Pair, Kimagura Orange Road, Urusei Yatsura, Golden Boy, and Sailor Moon. This ploy was ushered by multiple producers such as Desired, Young Bae, Night Tempo, and Moe Shop, who would regularly use this trope to promote their music. Since then, we have seen an abundance of Japanese-related media embedded into the genre that doesn't just include anime, but also its language, culture, and even obi strips on the physical media, the latter of which to this day is still a common attribute of physical pressings in the country. You may be wondering, why does old school anime play a
I can't lie to you, that last track kind of sounds like an alternative to Rock With You by Michael Jackson.
A little bit, a little bit.
Maybe because we have seen this trade appear in Daft Punk's discovery with the Interstellar movie, but that's a whole different can of worms that we'll eventually dive into at some point. Some have argued that the aesthetic was only used as an opportunity for weebs to express their love for it. However, I think there may be a bit more to it than just that. First and foremost, the nostalgia factor, as we all know, is one of the key reasons why Japanese animation plays a prominent role in the visual aspect of the genre. A lot of future funk contains samples from Japanese city pop that's often served in the same manner as how French house is composed. But the reminiscence of Japan's culture back in the day is kind of presented just from listening to the original piece. Not to mention that a lot of the intro and outro songs we would hear in each OVA or episode would have a very optimistic touch to the final product, much like a Naruto or Night Tempo song would be. Because anime has been considered a major part in Japan's identity in the media and has garnered a universal audience, one of the first things we associate Japan with is their animation. Not because anything displayed in any of the shows resembled the most accurate detail of what the 1980s or 90s was like for them at the time, but maybe because we're so indulged in the overall neon graphics and vaporwave that anime from back then just seems kind of fitting. I don't know if there's a solidified answer for why both elements fit together so well, and maybe we don't even need one. The only thing I can say at this point is that since both artistic entities have complemented each other since day one, and if people choose to maintain the pairing of these two, there may not be any need to ask further questions. Instead, we should just appreciate the aesthetics and allow our minds to warp into this colourful world and reminisce on those feel-good vibes the future funk continues to deliver. So now we know the origins of the name, when it began, and how the scene has progressed since its inception. But what if I told you we could go back even further than 2011? Before Keats Collective or even Monotrix Point Never were precursors to the internet's new wave of plunderfies. Because there was one other producer that could have been partly responsible for not just future funk, but possibly vaporwave itself. You're probably thinking, Daydream, are you talking about Daft Punk? Because you know they don't count as future funk, and no, that's not who we're talking about. Though Daft Punk have a handful of bangers that some claim to be of that ilk due to the similarity.
It's similar, but not really.
Yeah.
Who we're talking about right now is someone that many have admired and commended to be one of the earliest harbingers of future funk, the Phantom's Revenge. French producer The Phantom's Revenge has been a well-renowned name in the French house scene, whose career dates as far back as the quote-unquote MySpace days.
Oh!
God damn!
Wow, that is old school.
I'm old. Oh my god.
Phantom's Revenge would make his debut in 2008 with an 8-minute single known as Absolute Ego Rise, along with a remix of the track.
It's what partially dates the first Iron Man movie when he says, "I don't want to see this up on your MySpace page." Like, oh, dude.
Oh, jeez. Now you know you're old.
Sampling Candy Statons When You Wake Up Tomorrow, Absolute Ego Ride became the result of all the French house bangers that Phantom's Revenge had been listening to at the time, and contained a variety of elements akin to the edifice of future funk. Stammering sample chops, groovy repetitions, auto-filtered build-ups and phases all compiled into one little package. Since then, the Phantom's Revenge has had the honour of performing in Japan, Australia, the United States and Mexico, as well as releasing a handful of EPs and singles on different platforms throughout the web with no history of any physical pressings. While his music is not future funk and fits more into the spectrum of French house, the Phantom's Revenge has affiliated with many artists and labels in Vaporwave that have also stated about how much his material has had an effect on them. In fact, he once contributed to Keats Collective at one point on Volume 5 of the label's compilation in 2014, alongside St. Pepsi and Macross 8299. He has also collaborated with Vaporwave valedictorian Peg Chennington on the Dewdropper album in late 2019 and even did an interview with Pat that same year. Just a few months ago, the Washington DC based Montam Records announced that the Phantom's Revenge would be releasing a single through their Bandcamp on the 1st of May dubbed Do Your Palms Ever Itch 2, which has been well received in the community. But just because the Phantom's Revenge doesn't blend into being in the same class as other future funk producers, doesn't mean that he has not been acknowledged for his involvement in the scene. I like to think of what he is to future funk as what Depeche Mode is to metal bands. Neither of them fitted into the same group as who they have influenced, but they both played a prominent role in the inspiration and expansion of the music that would later be preceded by them. However you choose to see it, it's hard to deny that some of the most unlikely figures can be the biggest inspirations to a certain field of media. I wouldn't go so far as to say the Phantom's Revenge is anything unordinary to future funk, as the roots to both examples trace back to a similar formula that multiple subgenres of house music have followed. But in the context of what this more energetic connection to Vaporwave has to offer, it's more about cutting out unnecessary fat and collecting the catchiest snippets one can find in the original track from the 80s, repackage it with updated production quality that can simultaneously fit into the sound of the 21st century, all the while being able to leave a nostalgic fingerprint on the newly revitalized song. The Phantom's Revenge couldn't possibly be the only name that others could identify with being a future funk forerunner, but he has certainly gained a reputation that producers from all over the world continue to admire and endorse. Whether you've been around since day one or are still fairly new to everything surrounding this melodic marvel, future funk has always been a treasure trove of earworms for music lovers abroad. From the bright and bubbly personality of Strawberry Station to the more industrial and metal-orientated disposition of Tokyo Wanderer, there's always something in the genre that will grab your attention with its sonic quality and fingerprint. Every person that has ever listened to this harmonious sensation has had an interpretation of their own when it comes to future funk. No matter how often each of us try to dissect it, there's always another piece of the puzzle to help complete the picture that showcases everything surrounding this entity. Nevertheless, it seems that every day someone is tampering with an old city pop, disco, or funk track that they found from a simple YouTube search, and that hundreds of ideas continue to spawn and inspire others to express their devotion to Vaporwave with the amount of subgenres in the scene. We as not just the audience, but also content creators strive to further understand and go through trial and error to adapt new ideas to the things that we enjoy, and do all that we can to entice more people into taking part and share their own appreciation with others. Thanks to the power of the internet and all the resources we have access to, people have managed to obtain a myriad of songs from underground record labels that many believed were long gone from ever resurfacing again. But luckily, not everything from the past will remain forgotten, and all it takes is one person to bring an artifact of yesteryear back to life.
Tenma did the same thing with the Duke's Mysterious Girl.
That's cool.
Records 20 years from now. Would albums like A Million Miles Away or Aloe Island Adventures be transformed much like the original compositions of which they were structured from? It's too soon to predict what kind of future awaits for the scene, but all we really need to take into account for now is to keep creating and experimenting with all the riches and treasures we continue to stumble upon. Maybe tomorrow we'll encounter a fresh release somewhere on Bandcamp that could prove to be revolutionary to the shape of future funk to come. Who knows what could happen? But for now, let's continue to indulge and create more of this wonderful music and hope that one day we'll all be in the same room to party with each other all night long.
So there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the foundation of what eventually became future funk. It's pretty crazy to know how far this genre has come ever since its first inception, but the fact that it's still going on to this day and people are getting more experimental with it, it's just astounding. I may do another video further analyzing.
That's why I've left mainstream more or less behind, because this gives me what I need.
Mainstream music?
Yeah, things like, you know, pop and what have you. It's like, it's not for me anymore.
I hear you.
Apparently,Oni's joined in on the chat. He says he can barely hear us on the audio.
Really?
That's weird.
Let me have a look. See.
Well, I think it is coming in a little bit quiet, but
Let me see.
Up for the TV.
Let me see. Well, the Discord is at. It was at 47%, so it should have been coming through just fine. It could have just been he had his volume turned down. Trouble is, we have to keep certain bits and pieces turned down low because, you know how Twitch is with copyright.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, desktop audio on here is at full volume on Streamlabs, and so is the microphone. So,
Strange.
All right, let me check again, because my microphone's up just fine. The only reason I don't...
Sorry.
I don't have the Discord volume up too high, just in case we get white noise in the background, because that can be just as detrimental. To be fair, we've had this at the volume for the last, what, couple of seasons, and everything's been fine. You might be referring to, like I said, what's going on with, with Google Chrome in a separate window. But again, we have to keep certain aspects turned down, because Twitch, like I say, Twitch are a little more
stricter on copyright.
Which is why I didn't have, the visuals show up in there. I don't know how Double Toasted get away with it, but that might be because
they have a huger following.
Yeah, and Twitch know that, look, this is our bread and butter. Do we really want to cut these guys off? Yeah. But, yeah, that is what I have been into for near enough the last year. Actually, let me just get the usual Oh, it's Rey Mysterio, Oni's favorite wrestler.
You know what? I'm not going there. It's too easy.
Yeah, I know. So, let me just stretch a second. That's better. So, Stephen, in the absence of Kaiju, we'll start with you. What do you make of the information presented in there, and, how do you see Future Funk now, knowing of its inception, the type of music it offers, basically the general all-around package?
Interesting to see a new genre of music coming around from that kind of angle, and not something that immediately I'd go to, but it's probably something I'd listen to if I wanted to just relax. Definitely need to check it out more, I think, in the future.
Oh,
and the video was very, very informative.
I only came across him because I was looking for something. I was looking for a video I'd seen before on it, but the way he presented it, I'm like, oh no, this is going to be good to fill a void with. And he mentions artists like Desired and Night Tempos. I mean, Night Tempo has produced some of the best when it comes to future funk. I'll round off a few numbers. Dreams of Light and Endless Valentine. You hear those and you're like, keep this on loop for a while. I'm good. I'm good. There's another one he does. Kiss Kara Hajimiru Mystery. It's a very low tempo, but it's one that's like, okay, I'm good. You know, I can work with this for a while. You know, I just have that as a playlist whenever I'm at work, or whenever I'm off on the escape, or when I was walking to Bristol. Because it's up tempo, it actually gives you energy, because high tempo music has a means of getting you motivated. So think like, in the same way, Kenny Loggins' Highway to the Danger Zone. That is super up tempo. It just makes you want to get up and go. That's what future funk does. To our own funk master, the Cyber Raiden. What are your thoughts on the video, and do you probably have a little bit more of an appreciation for the subgenre now?
Oh, yeah, most definitely. I mean, this is stuff that I listen to, especially. I'm not really a big future funk guy, but a lot of the times when I watch a lot of things like wrestling and video games and whatnot, I hear things, I instantly gotta put it on my phone or MP3 so I can listen to it while I'm at work or I'm out and about. And it's a very interesting history, and I'm glad it's there. And you know, it gives me a little bit more appreciation of the genre itself, and makes me want to find more.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think what it was, because I was at the time looking for background music to play in the background for live stream, because I was looking for like lo-fi hip hop, because that's taken off in its own right, and you know, we've played quite a few of those on the show. And I was just like, you know, looking up for, you know, other stuff, and this, you know, at the time this one popped up called Future Funk, and I'm like, what's this? I hear the Benson Cut by Future Girlfriend. I'm like, ooh, what is this? And I'm like, I was like, oh yeah, give me some more of this, give me some. I was like, I need this. And then you find out, you know, you can actually download these legally from the artists themselves. I'm like, okay. I was like, gimme, I want more. And I think, like with a lot of things, yeah, it is essentially something old school that's being repackaged, but it's being done in a way whereby it reminds you of a simpler, more innocent time, and it's giving you something that mainstream music is not really doing so much of, because a lot of mainstream music now is either preaching messages you don't really want to hear, because music is a lot like movies, animes. In a way, you want a form of escapism, and when a lot of music now is injecting politics into it, it's just like, I'm out. It's like, no, there's enough of that on social media and in the news these days, air quotes. And future funk just gives you what you want. It gives you just escapism, and it's just like, oh yeah, I'm good. And actually, what is my future funk count? Let me just check on genres. Let's see, let's go scroll down. Now I'm currently up to like my 53rd track that I've downloaded, probably since May of this year. I tend to look for ones where I'm like, oh, like either puts me in a good zone in terms of like it just lifts me up self-esteem wise, or ones where I'm like, oh yeah, I'm using this for, you know, long powered power walks. some are, you know, put you in a slightly more, don't want to say sentimental, but it has you where you're thinking a little bit more, and that's always a good thing. But yeah, Real Love Music and Artsy Music on YouTube, they do a lot of music videos for the artists in question, and then they leave all the links up to their respective Bandcamp pages, and most of the time the artists let you set your own download price. I mean, I tend to pay no more than what they charge on Amazon's MP3 section. I pay no more than like 80 pence to say 91 cents per track, which I think is reasonable. Some songs are part of an album that you can only download as part of the album, and some albums like going for like $23.35, and I'm like, yeah, not happening. I was really looking to pick up a couple of ones more by Cosmic Burrito. Yeah, that's actually the name of one user, which wasn't sure how Kaiju and Lids would take to that. But he produces a couple of good bangers on there, and some of them let you download it for free. I mean, the first album I got of Future Girlfriend, you know, was a couple of numbers on there that I was looking for anyhow, and yeah, but there's always new ones popping up. One I'm very fond of at the moment is one artist called Kiss Me Nerdy Girl, no space, that's just the name of the artist, and they produce some really good psychedelic upbeat ones. And there's one called Dumb Blue, which, Raiden, how familiar are you with the R&B artist Mona Lisa?
Mona Lisa? Let's see.
Yeah, she did a
R&B artist.
Yeah, she did a track in the 90s called Heartache This Autumn, and Dumb Blue did an updated version, but just as a future funk, where he took it from a very slow R&B type of chill vibe to something that you could easily put out on the dance floor, and it's just like, oh, this is good. But, you know,
I can't lie to you. The first time I remember hearing Mona Lisa, but I can't lie to you. I didn't know. I can't hold you. I didn't know that she sung. The only time I knew about her was when she guest starred in Kenan and Kel years ago.
All right. Let me pop the track over for future reference later.
Alright.
Dumb Blue basically just, like I say, just took that, and I've heard the original version by Mona Lisa, and it's good, but you hear this and it's like, ooh, like, you know, like, this is good. They've produced quite a few good ones. Never Thought is another good one that he's popped out, and it's just one of those things, you find one good future funk song, and then you start, you know, finding yourself in other circles, like I said, whether it's by Desire, Night Tempo. It's another good one I tend to go to. Oh, Fuji Fire, absolutely amazing, along with Aiden Kai, Robimento, and Schizoforg with Monstero Japones, which that future funk song is completely in Spanish, and I've seen the Spanish lyrics translated to English. It's actually referring to Godzilla in the song, because it talks about a monster scaling the heights of buildings in Tokyo as tall as King Kong, and I'm like, I know who you're talking about. Fact, let me It's easier just for me just to copy that into the YouTube. No, just go straight to it. This one, I cannot lie. The girl who's singing in there, you just fall in love with her, her sultry, husky voice, and the imagery. It's from Call of the Night.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, there's something about Nazuna with her pink braids like that. There's, I don't know, kind of, you know, reflects the mood of it, of everything. But yeah, that's what I've been into for, like I say, the last near year, and I don't see myself walking away from it anytime soon, because it's just one of those, you hear one song, you want more. That's all I'm going to say about that. Now we're moving away from something funky to Grizzly Wolverine based.
Okay.
And that is, Hugh Jackman says he was offered James Bond role before Daniel Craig's casting. Jackman says he had a look at the offer for Bond, but didn't want to commit to two major franchises simultaneously, which is fair because he was quite deep in the X-Men franchise at the time. James Bond fantasy casting has always been popular with fans, especially when the time comes to put someone new in the role after one actor's retirement. We're seeing this now with Daniel Craig stepping away from Bond following one last performance in last year's No Time to Die. Thank the good Lord for that. I'm just glad he's gone. Inevitably, Bond 26 will be made, but it remains to be seen when the production will begin or who will ultimately be cast next as 007. In past years, Jackman is one name that came up with a lot of fans discussing who might be good for the role of Bond. In a new interview with IndieWire, Jackman reveals that this is something that may have actually happened if not for his casting as Wolverine in the X-Men franchise. After debuting as the Clawed Mutant in 2000, Jackman went to end the character's story with 2017's Logan, though he'll reprise the role one last time in the upcoming sequel Deadpool 3. Needless to say, the Wolverine role was something that he was going to take up a lot of Jackman's time for years to come. Meanwhile, Pierce Brosnan would wrap up his run as Bond with 2002's Die Another Day. I feel that movie gets slated a little bit harshly. I mean, it's not a perfect Bond movie, but as a Bond movie, it's good for what it is.
I'll enjoy it.
Formally announcing his retirement from the role in 2004. That left the franchise producers on a hunt for the next Bond for the 2006 reboot Casino Royale, which ultimately went to Daniel Craig. Before landing on Craig, however, the role was floated to Jackman, who was still pretty early into his run as Wolverine and anticipating much more to come. For that reason, he quickly lost interest in Bond, as he didn't want to spend the next however many years playing just the two same characters. He explains, "I didn't want to do the same things. You know, the role of the hero action star, I mean, it was the meat and potatoes, a lot of American film, the archetype. It was all various forms of heroic guys in tough situations. I was like, no, this is a problem. I had to look at the James Bond offer, and I was like, if I'm doing that and Wolverine, I'll have no time to do anything else. I clearly find it more interesting to play people who colour outside the lines." That's fair. It remains clear who the next Bond actor will be. There will be someone cast in the role at some point. Bond producers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson have said that the search for the next 007 is in the early stages, meaning it could be a couple of years before we find out who the next person will be. The thing is, it's going to be a couple of years off, and when we cast Bond, it is a 10 to 12 year commitment, so he's probably thinking, do I really want that thing? Not everybody wants to do that. It was hard enough getting Craig to do it, and a lot of us would have preferred that he stayed away from it. I liked Casino Royale, and I thought Skyfall was okay, but as Bond, I'm sorry, but you're no Sean Connery. In terms of cadence, because we know Hugh Jackman can do the English accent with what he did with Van Helsing, which, by the way, heavily underrated movie.
Oh yeah.
In terms of the look and the overall package, we know he can do the suaveness, so I could have seen him as Bond, and he certainly would have been a huge improvement over Craig. As for starters, Hugh Jackman actually knows what charisma is. Sorry, not sorry. I'm sorry. I mean, Daniel Craig as a cold actor to do these very sort of thriller type roles where you're looking at the very sort of philosophical aspects, he's the right person to do that. But as Bond, I'm sorry, you basically need to be a British Michael Knight. You need to have charm, charisma, and wit, and he doesn't have that. Let's put it this way. It'd be like putting Bill Bixby's David Banner as Jim Carrey's The Mask. Do you know how weird that would look?
Man.
I mean,
Absolutely.
I mean, Bill Bixby could do like the dry wit humor, because it's kind of like, what if Garfield was human? You know, it's that very sort of dry wit where you're telling a joke without intending to be funny, and Bill had that sort of humor. But with Bond, you need somebody who can do the dry wit, probably something akin to Roger Moore and Sean Connery. But when Craig tries to be funny, it's just like, no, stop. I mean, it'd be like Vince McMahon trying to master tact. Yeah, that won't happen. So, Steve, what do you make of the fact that Jackman was offered the role of Bond, and, well, could you have seen him doing it? Steve? We're having technical difficulties again, folks. Yeah, this always happens. If his audio gets wonky, he has to back out and come back in. Just give him a minute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Like I say, what do you make of the fact that he was offered the role of 007, and do you think he could have pulled it off?
Well, it's hard to tell with the role of Bond until we could actually get an idea of what he would be like and sort of the mannerisms and stuff. It's just, for me, impossible to see him as Bond, considering what's come before and what came after, which most of us really want to try and get out of our heads. Thank you very, very much.
Alright. Alright. Same question to Raiden.
I'm kind of with Steve on this one. Like, you never know what was going to happen. I mean, I felt like you definitely has the suave, the charm, and all that. I mean, the cool thing about him, he's very multifaceted. From what I've heard, his performance as Jean Valjean in Les Miserables was really good. So I feel like he could have handled that role really well. Like, once again, like Steve said, we don't know, but you know, if you look at test runs, I feel like he could be that person. But I like how dedicated he is when it comes to a franchise. Like, turn down, let me just do Wolverine for a bit, and then let's see what comes next. And I gotta say, it was been cool for him. But you know, what if? I wouldn't.
Alright. Okay. Alright. Let's see. What to move on to now? Let's see. Batman Beyond, the best villains from the series ranked. This will be amusing for a minute. Let's see. Let's pop that in. Pop that in. New Batman, same old problems of supervillains causing problems for everyone in Gotham. But of course. Batman Beyond was a DC animated universe show that ran for 52 episodes from 1999 to 2001. Its main character was high schooler Terry McGinnis, who takes on the mantle of Batman 20 years after a heart condition forced Bruce Wayne to hang up the cowl for good. Set in a futuristic Gotham, the show received critical acclaim, with IGN ranking it 40th on their list of the top 100 animated TV series. However, with a new Batman comes a new rogues gallery to cause havoc. True, some familiar foes from Bruce Wayne's day did reappear, such as Mr. Freeze, Ra's al Ghul, and Bane, who was in a vegetative state thanks to his addiction to the steroid venom. But Terry McGinnis' Batman collected some fairly notable names as well. Let's take a look at some of the Batman villains Batman Beyond had to offer. Starro only appeared in a two-part episode, The Call, which saw Superman ask Batman to figure out which member of the Justice League was trying to kill the other members. However, the investigation reveals the traitor appears to be none other than Superman himself. It's not his fault, though. The alien starfish known as Starro has taken control of him. Starro first came to Earth after Superman battled the Preserver, that can be seen in a two-parter episode of Superman the Animated Series. After witnessing the Man of Steel's strength, Starro decided to take control of him. So what does Starro do with full control of one of the strongest superheroes out there? Breeds more, enough to subjugate most of the people on planet Earth. It makes the alien one of the few global threats Terry McGinnis faced, and if fighting Superman wasn't hard enough, the rest of the Justice League gets subjugated by the alien starfish too. And Aquagirl, the daughter of Aquaman, voiced by Jodie Benson.
Yes, indeed.
The Royal Flush Gang. The aristocratic family of criminals is very different from the same name gang that appeared in Justice League and Justice League Unlimited. The names of the members are still the same. King, voiced by one-time 007 George Lazenby. I did not know that. Queen, Jack, and Ace. He's a robot. And Ten, who would serve the same role to Terry McGinnis' Batman that Catwoman did to Bruce Wayne's. New members would join upon marriage or childbirth, and all of their crimes were centered around play card suits, such as the time they robbed a yacht club, so a pun so bad it hurt Batman. They appeared in 3 episodes, each one seeing them fall further and further until they're stopped for good, with 2 of them, Ten and Jack, reforming completely and getting jobs at a diner. Ten, whose civilian identity of Melanie Walker relates very well to Terry's struggles as Batman, has some great interactions with Terry, especially since her feelings for him do appear to be completely genuine. While the gang does not have some very good weaponry and each member has a very specific role to play, they do tend to fall apart completely if even one member is absent during a heist. However, they still gave Batman more than a few headaches. I like at the end of that episode, Terry goes to Bruce, "Did you ever have these kind of problems in your day?" He goes, "Let me tell you about a woman named Selena Kyle." And I'm like, I like that.
Oh.
Cure. Ooh. Cure was the best assassin.
You mean Curare?
Yes.
Yeah.
Was the best assassin the Society of Assassins ever had, which is old school for the League of Shadows. Very few people have ever seen her face, though Batman was one of them, and what he saw horrified him. She appeared in only 2 episodes, but her martial arts skills, her incredibly deadly blade, and the absurd efficiency easily make her one of her more very dangerous threat. She has no speaking lines aside from a few grunts after getting hit, a true silent assassin. Her first appearance sees her try to assassinate Commissioner Barbara Gordon's husband, Gotham DA Sam Young. Of course, this attempt was thwarted by Gordon and Batman. Kirare's second appearance sees her return to Gotham to eliminate the last member of the Society of Assassins, who asked for Batman's protection. In both episodes, Kirare shows why she was the best assassin the Society of Assassins, tongue twister there, ever had, and why it's a very, very bad idea to make an enemy out of her. Shriek. Walter Shree was a brilliant sound engineer who sank all of his money into his research. Luckily, Wayne Power's CEO Derek Powers would bail him out in exchange for one favor: use his sound technology to assassinate Bruce Wayne. Yeah, not usually a good idea to cut off your bread and butter, Powers, just saying. Thus, the sound-based villain Shriek was born. Shriek would appear in 3 episodes. He would go deaf at the end of his debut episode, where he would torment the elder Bruce Wayne with voices in his head and have him committed to hospital. His second appearance saw him use his sound powers to make all speech unintelligible throughout Gotham, something he'd only reverse if Batman surrendered to him. His third and final appearance would had him trap Batman in a labyrinth of underground tunnels, hoping to kill off the Tomorrow Night once and for all. And I like this one exchange at the end of the episode. It goes, "How did you know you weren't?" He goes, "So how did you know you weren't going crazy?" He goes, "Well, for starters, I'm not crazy. Second of all, the voices in my head kept calling me Bruce Wayne. That's not who I call myself." "Really? What do you call yourself?" "Glare." "Alright, I suppose you would. But that's my name now. Tell that to my subconscious."
Mm-hmm.
And I like how he actually brought back his Batman voice for that. It's just like, nice. Number 3. Oh, Spellbinder.
Oh, this,
Ooh, I like that.
I don't remember watching that.
I like that villain.
They kind of
I don't know,
actually...
it might be a Scarecrow.
They kind of brought that character back in The Batman, but just did it in a more mythical kind of way. Dr. Ira Billings was a high school psychiatrist who felt underappreciated and underpaid. Sounds like a lot of teachers these days. So he would use the students in his care to gain information from their wealthy parents. One girl's father owned a rare... yeah. I know this one. The one where they get put into these, like, dark, quiet rooms. Yeah, that can do things to you. One girl's father owned a rare statue. Another boy's father ran an auction house. And Terry McGinnis's worked part-time for a billionaire. As the illusion-centric villain, Spellbinder Billings would trick their students or their parents into stealing valuables for them. Combined with his knowledge of the human psyche, shut up, watch, Spellbinder was a very dangerous foe. He'd also create the dangerous, addictive VR rooms and force teens to steal from them before they could use the rooms. He also tricked Police Commissioner Barbara Gordon into thinking Batman killed crazed anarchist Mad Stan.
Yeah.
I remember that
episode.
That's so lame. That's something a name that Oni would have come up with. Don't front, dude. You would. In a parking garage leading to a police manhunt for the Tomorrow Night. All of this makes Spellbinder easily one of the greatest threats the Batman of the future ever faced. Blight.
Ooh.
Here we go.
We're talking about the big guns now.
Corrupt CEO Derek Powers, and that's paying him a compliment, merges his company with Bruce Wayne's to create the Wayne Powers conglomerate and make some radical changes, such as producing nerve gas for Eastern European countries currently under a weapons embargo. That's a little too on the nose, considering some of the things that are going on in this world to this day. When Batman throws a can of the gas in, Powers foolishly shoots it, exposing himself to the gas. Why am I getting flashbacks to the Green Goblin here? I'm just saying. Luckily, there's a cure, extreme radiation. Oh, now we're going into Hulk territory. Which turns Powers into the glowing, skeletal, and nuclear-powered supervillain known as Blight. Now as monstrous on the outside as he was on the inside, Blight was the closest thing to an arch-rival that Terry McGinnis's Batman ever had. Their conflict was very personal. After all, it was Derek Powers ordering the killing of Terry's father that drove the teenager into becoming the new Batman in the first place. Finally, Ink.
Ooh.
Ink's cool.
Without a doubt, the toughest villain Terry McGinnis ever thought, Ink was one of the few villains who Batman always needed help to defeat. Ink appeared more times than any other villain, aside from one instance where she took a disguised Superman hostage. Interesting. She put up one heck of a fight in all of her appearances. The result of a mutagenic experiment, Ink's body had the consistency of, well, ink. She could shapeshift from weapons with her arms and squeeze into absurdly small places, kind of like Ragdoll in a way. Perfect abilities for an industrial saboteur, which is what she was introduced as. With her range of powers makes her incredibly tough, she does have some weaknesses. She doesn't like water, for instance. She has also shown that she can be frozen, as Terry had to use Mr. Freeze's iconic ice gun to stop her in her first appearance. Definitely the best villain Terry McGinnis's Batman ever went up against.
Agreed.
Yep.
And the screen cap that they're showing from that, I think that's the episode that Bruce put on one last bat suit, and in the in that episode, it played, you know, the score from the animated series "Thy Kingdom Come." It's just like,
Oh yeah.
it's like one last time he could go.
Not to mention how sadistic Ink was at certain points. Like, I think it may have been in her first appearance. She literally tried to force feed herself to Terry.
Ew. And also the way that
Yeah.
she kind of manipulated her warden, where he slowly started. He wanted to become like her, but then he found that.
Oh yeah, I remember that
Yep.
episode.
Where he finds out it's not all it was cracked up to be.
And then he ends up in her position.
Yeah. And then it was that. And then there was that episode where they had like their own version of the Fantastic Four.
The terrific
Oh,
trio.
yeah.
Yeah. I did feel bad for their equivalent of the Thing. He just seemed like he just wanted to be a regular guy, you know?
Yeah.
Mainly because one of his associates was just that he ended up getting the girl instead of him, and so he manipulated events to basically form an accident.
Yeah. Sean Retro's just saying one of Kirare's targets was voiced by Tim Curry. To be fair, Tim Curry did a lot of voice work in the 90s, whether it was Nigel Thornberry,
Pretorius in the Mask,
and King Maximilian Acorn in Sonic Sat AM. Granted, it was only a handful of episodes, but he did provide the voice.
and dare we not mention that Thunderbird show that we should never mention?
No. Like Raiden has tried to do a lot of things. I tried to erase that from my memories. Like, no. I don't want to even acknowledge that thing. And by the way,
Also, if I remember correctly, he was a villainous organ in Beauty and the Beast Christmas movie.
oh, I did not know
Oh
that.
yeah, Forte.
Yeah, Forte. Yeah.
Sean Retro says, still waiting for a live-action Batman Beyond movie. Like, we've been waiting for that for about the better part of 23 years. And this is my line of thinking. If they had made a live-action Batman Beyond, say, circa 2003, because usually actors in their mid to late 20s end up playing teenagers, which I think some actors are able to pull it off reasonably well. I mean, Tobey Maguire did it decent as Spidey, as well as Andrew Garfield. And here's the thing, though. This is a conversation me and a colleague of mine were having. It's getting to the point now where people in their 20s and 30s look younger than their parents and their grandparents did when they were in their 20s and 30s. Because if you look at, say, somebody who's 24 in 1983, they actually look a lot older than most 24-year-olds will look now. Whereas 24-year-olds now, if they do it right, they could pass for 17. I think it's just something in the genetic code where evolution is taking place to where people, when they get to their 20s now, look at least 6 to 7 years younger, depending on where they are in their 20s. I mean, when they had Chloe Moretz in Neighbours 2, because Chloe was about 20, 21 at the time, a lot of people mistake her for being 12 because she just looked that young. And I think we are going to get to a point where when someone gets to their 40s, say in about 10 or 20 years' time, they're going to look like they're barely 23. I think it's just the way evolution is going. But anyway, getting off on a tangent here. I think if they had done Batman Beyond in 03, and you could get this guy to either dye his hair or put a wig on, Leonardo DiCaprio would have been ideal as Terry McGinnis.
Yeah, I can see that.
Mm-hmm.
He has similar mannerisms and cadences to how Will Friedle voiced Terry McGinnis. It's that, and also from certain angles, he kind of looks like him a little bit. I mean, DiCaprio now to play Terry, no. I'm not saying this to be nasty. I'm not saying this to be like ages. He's too old now. Can he voice him? Absolutely.
No.
Absolutely. He'd be able to play, Terry McGinnis in his 30s if they wanted to do the whole epilogue story. But
Yeah.
Terry McGinnis at the start of his journey as Batman Beyond, no. You need somebody, ideally now, who's, say, 24 to 31 to play Terry McGinnis at the start of his career. Because Terry's like, what, 16, 17 when he first becomes Batman? It's around that.
I think, since he's a Leonardo DiCaprio, I think my idea, especially the 90s, if it was a live-action version, I would probably cast Christian Slater. Especially if you watch the movie Gleaming the Cube.
Christian Slater, yeah, back in the day he was one of the pretty boys, and he could actually act, especially in the movie Heathers. He's a full-blown psycho.
Yeah, the way he is, I mean, if you see his, like I said, his character, Gleaming the Cube, is very like a rebel, street punk type guy,
Yeah.
And I feel like he definitely will fit Terry McGinnis. If it was in the 2010s, I would either have either Logan Lerman or let's see. I know the actor, but the last name is really escaping me. Hold up, let's see if I can remember. Let's see. Okay, let me go to. Josh Hutcherson. Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like he would. I feel like in the 2010s he would be a good Batman.
All right.
Now I don't know. Like, gonna have to search for a bit, but yeah, those choices would be good.
I feel like, I've said this so many times before, particularly with the way they do superhero movies now. With certain roles, you need to find somebody who's either virtually unknown or someone that has been around, but they've not really had that defining movie where people are like, oh yeah, that guy. I mean, when they chose Christopher Reeve as Superman, he was virtually unknown except for, one of the casting directors that they kept recommending and putting his name at the top, because he was originally dismissed because they said he was too young and skinny. And of course, they're like, okay, let's see him do his screen. Let's see him do a screen test. He does one screen test, and they're like, he's our Superman. I mean, Christian Bale, you could make the argument that he wasn't really well known. I mean, he was known in Hollywood before he did Batman, but not really known in the same vein as, say, as Arnold Schwarzenegger or Sylvester Stallone and what have you.
I mean, before Batman Begins, I think his only big prominent role was Patrick Bateman in American Psycho.
And wasn't he a voice in Pocahontas?
Yes, he was. and he was also in Howl's Moving Castle.
Oh snap! Oh snap! I forgot. You're right. He wasn't Pocahontas.
Yeah, he was.
Thomas?
Yeah, I think he was like.
Thomas.
He was like the assistant to Mel
Yeah.
Gibson's character. Sean makes a very good point here. They missed their chance to have Kevin Conroy to play Bruce Wayne if they ever do a live-action Batman Beyond. They'd have to put some prosthetic makeup on to make him look like elder Bruce Wayne, and we've been saying this for a while. Now is the perfect time to have Michael Keaton play, Bruce Wayne as the elder statesman in a live-action Batman Beyond, because he's at the right age now.
Also, you can't tweak some things, because I think I've said this before. The way he portrays Bruce Wayne was, very just what's the word? Very conflicted. Especially when he wants to commit or whatever. Or when he's Batman, he's right at home. That's him. It's kind of sort of like what in this year's the Batman.
Oh yeah.
I mean, the way Robert Pattinson. It's kind of. When you look at it, you can kind of easily compare Michael Keaton and Robert Pattinson's portrayal as both characters. But this time, Pattinson's Bruce Wayne was very sheltered, was very a recluse. Like all he cared about was being dedicated to Batman. When he came out, it was it's like a vampire coming out of the sun.
Yeah.
But with Keaton's Bruce Wayne, he definitely kept a ruse on how Bruce Wayne is as a person.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Those type of comparisons are pretty cool. So I think with a fan thing of Michael Keaton being an elder Bruce Wayne, you could say he's been through it all. Kind of like how Peter Weller voiced Bruce Wayne.
Yes.
In The Dark Knight Returns. So if you combine all those elements together, you would have a great live action elderly Bruce Wayne.
Oh yeah. And I had some skepticism about Weller being Bats in Dark Knight Returns, but as soon as I've heard his first couple of lines, I'm like, I want more. Because the only thing I noticed, he didn't quite differentiate his Bruce Wayne voice from his Batman voice, but I don't think it hurt it too much. But I think it's always something that voice directors should kind of keep in mind, that when you're playing these dual roles, and I'm surprised for so many years in live action and in cartoons, nobody picks up on the fact that Peter Parker's Spider-Man is, someone should just go, hey, you sound of the, my voice is completely coincidental.
That is. You know what? Now that you mentioned it, that is weird. You know what I mean? Because he never disguises, and he is interacting with everyone that he's known. I don't know. I guess it's 90s magic. I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And with Dawn of Justice, Bruce Wayne has a voice changer in his cowl to disguise his voice completely, which I'm like, well, that just makes complete sense. And also it's taking
and despite how I feel about Arrow, Oliver Queen did the same thing.
And of course, what do they do in Spider-Man Homecoming? They mock it and say, oh, you don't need a voice changer. Yeah, you do. If you're being a vigilante, you have to disguise yourself completely so that you know, your loved ones are not caught in reprisal.
Yeah, yeah, and we're still and I know we're still going to make fun of his voice, but even Christian Bale's Batman had the gruff voice. Like even it still works though, even though it's still funny.
Oh yeah. I still think before they had Ben Affleck's voice altered digitally to where there's this electronic tone to his voice, all Keaton would do was just talk in a lower register as Bats, to where and I still say to this day, Keaton as Bats is still a better Batman vocally than Christian Bale, because he doesn't oversell it. It's just like, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to tell all your friends about, who are you? I'm Batman. And just like, that's it. But with Christian, and I don't know if this was his thought to do this, or whether Christopher Nolan told him to do this. Oh, it's like, stop, please stop.
Feels like you're having a fit or something.
My brother compares him, and these are my brother's words, so take this as you will. He compares him to, and I quote, a 10-year-old trying to sound like an internet tough guy, and I'm like, okay.
You know, or you're on the Xbox Live servers.
Oh, don't. Don't.
Those were some talking times, brother.
Yeah.
Some of the things I would hear, I mean, most of the time I wouldn't have my microphone on going to Xbox Live. Some of the things I'd hear, I'm like, wow. Today, yeah, you'd get.
Oh no! They still do that, especially if you're playing Call of Duty.
Well, I don't play Call of Duty, so I'm good.
Me neither, but I've seen videos.
I think the last game I went on Xbox Live for was probably Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. And it's weird racing my buddy Pete, who we referred to in college as Cartman. So he was the original Eric Cartman before any Rikako. But no, that I would get on Xbox Live more if I actually found games that I would want to play on Xbox Live. And from what I've been hearing with wrestling games from 2K, I have heard with 2K 21 and 22 respectively, there have been improvements, but for me, I tapped out after 2K14. I'm just like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Take it for someone who has seen, especially 2K22. I'd say stay away from there for a while.
Yeah.
I mean, at least AEW Fight Forever coming out next year, so that might be promising. I mean, there's also another wrestling game called The Wrestling Code that they're still working on. So I feel like now I think you can just basically wait to see how those games go.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty dang good listing of the Bat villains, although for me, I liked it whenever some of Bruce's Rogues Gallery members would pop in. I mean, in one training session, you actually see Killer Croc show up. Granted, it was looking more and more like a dinosaur than he did as his anthropomorphic crocodile look, but it's a story unto itself.
Yeah.
But of course,
and I still feel bad. I still feel bad at what happened to Mr. Freeze, man.
yeah, he was given a second chance, and he actually wanted to have a second chance, but
life used him.
Yep.
And, you know, Nora was gone, so he had nothing to stick around for. It's just like, I got nothing.
Okay, before Batman Beyond, I didn't like how they changed Freeze in the new Batman Adventures, because I felt like that Batman Mr. Freeze Sub-Zero was a really great ending for him.
Yes.
Especially hearing that his wife is now has
cured.
Successful and that's it, cured. So, I mean, for me, that's the definitive end of this. Even though that Mr. Freeze episode from Batman Beyond is good. I don't know. I just did not like to see that.
No.
Go out like that.
No.
I mean, you can say a lot about Batman himself because you know, he's gone through so much shit over the years. It's like, you know, but you know, it is what it is. That's what happens when you're a hero / vigilante. But you're gonna have shit happen.
Sean Retro, Killer Croc, I'll throw a rock at this new Batman. And of course, with Batman Beyond, they had to get the Joker one last time. Mark Hamill thinks of that as his best performance as the Joker. Me, personally, I preferred the Joker from like the first couple of seasons of the animated series, where he was a little bit more whimsical and just a tiny bit more lighthearted. Whereas, you know, I know he's meant to be like a murderous clown and what have you, but I felt like he became much more of that and less jokey. And to me, the Joker has got to have the laughs and has got to tell the bad jokes. And, you know, if people...
I will say about Return of the Joker, the way the Joker was kept alive was really interesting. You know, especially what he did to Tim Drake, and that reveal that was insane. That caught me off guard, and I applaud them for that.
Yeah, it is him, but it's not him, if that makes any sense, because the real one, you know, died in that flashback, whereas this is essentially
a copy.
Yeah. Call it like it is. Okay. Onto something just as iconic, and that is Home Alone 2 is 30. Home Alone 2.
I constantly watch that movie, no matter what the holidays is.
Only seen a few clips of it, if I'm honest.
30 years later, The Godfather Part 2 of children's movies. Okay.
That's a bit of a bold statement.
That's an interesting take right there. I'm not even a big Godfather guy.
Home Alone 2 recently turned 30, and though it didn't do well with the critics, what movie does these days, the movie is much better than its original reviews indicated. Parental neglect is no laughing matter, but John Hughes and director Chris Columbus could convince you otherwise. That is how good the first two Home Alone films are, but maybe it's just a testament to the talents of the people involved that they just make us laugh at something that is so woefully unfunny in reality. The first volume follows the travails of young Kevin McAllister, Macaulay Culkin in his best role, I'd have to agree there, when he's left behind by his parents during the Christmas holidays. You see, the problem is that the entire family is going to Paris between Kevin, his siblings, and his older cousins, Mr. and Mrs. McAllister, John Hurt, and the great Catherine O'Hara, which, by the way, that woman does not age.
She does not. It's crazy. I remember seeing her in a commercial with Kevin Hart. I'm like, wow.
Just have too many darn kids to keep track of, so of course it's understandable that they could just accidentally leave one behind, right? Well, no, not really. And to add insult to injury, it happens a second year in a row, except this time it might even be more fun. Home Alone 2, which turned 30 on November 15th, faced an uphill battle from the jump. How on earth could Kevin be left behind again? how it could be made bigger and more interesting for the purposes of a sequel. A lot of harebrained plot mechanics have to fall into place in order for this to work, and they just barely to do with credit accuses snappy writing and Columbus's heist movie style direction. This time, Kevin isn't left at home per se. Rather, he gets lost in the airport and boards the wrong plane to New York, no less. The fact that the tickets agent lets him through on his word is an uninspired Deus Ex Machina, and one of a dozen reminders that the film takes place pre 9/11.
Oh yeah, and the funny part about that, well, not funny, but like, anytime I go watch the freeform version, they take out the part. They always take out the part that, you know, he's on the Twin Towers.
Yeah, but it was a more innocent time, and you know, when this came out, it was 9 years before it happened, so nobody had a clue. So
that's true.
It also just happens that the thieves who burgled his house in the previous film, and never better Daniel Stern and Joe Pesci, who mutters in gibberish instead of swearing, are escaping from a prison on a fish truck at the same time and using NYC as a way station on their path to bigger and better and brighter things. A chance encounter is what sets things in motion between these three: the wet bandits, or sticky bandits, desire for revenge, and a desperation from Kevin to save his own hide. And by the way, some of the antics that Marv gets up to, especially with that one lady, that would not fly today.
Yeah. Oh my god.
Especially because, well, hello, mon chéri, and she just slaps. I was like, yeah, this wouldn't happen today. Home Alone 2 is a good New York movie. If the first Home Alone is a masterpiece of pure invention and Christmas magic, yes, then the second is bigger and better, if slightly more dangerous, more notably as a love-hate letter to the most magical of hellholes, New York City. I think it's a little bit of a harsh stretch, but this is the writer's take, not mine. The place is not just a character in the film, but also Culkin's scene partner, embodied in scenes from Dana Ivey, Rob Schneider, and Tim Curry, among others, including the...
Tim Curry is the best. I can't hold you.
I love.
If you ever watched the Star Critic episode, oh yeah, he is full on Curry.
I like
also beardless.
It's just weird when it's like, you've been smooching with everybody. Cheeks, Bodie Bob, Cliff. It's a lie. It's just like the reaction from the fact that happened to be somebody called Cliff there. Lost in New York is the film's answer to The Godfather Part 2, which Culkin as a young Vito Corleone. I don't know if I'd go for that distinction, but okay. Setting up schemes and learning to survive in the big city. Kevin is an effortless New Yorker, a testament both to the character's independence and to the idea that you don't need to be from New York in order to thrive there. Of course, like anybody who lives in a city, McAllister is regularly beaten down by mishap and misfortune, but in equal measure, he's also blessed with inordinate good luck. This is the life of the everyday city dweller, and Kevin McAllister is a true every boy. Chris Columbus' Home Alone led to Harry Potter. Go on. You can draw a straight line between Home Alone 2, and the much of director Chris Columbus' other work. The man loves to explore complex relationships between kids and adults, having brought his writing, producing, and directing expertise to such films as Adventures in Babysitting, The Goonies, Mrs. Doubtfire, and Jingle All the Way. Insert Put That Cookie Down. In 2001, adaptation of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, which set off one of the most successful film franchises of all time, is almost a retelling of the Home Alone story. A young boy neglected and misunderstood by people who are supposed to be his family. I get it now. Ventures out in search of new meaning and purpose, and in the fact that both Home Alone and Harry Potter feature scores from iconic composer John Williams, and it's basically as though the film takes place in the same universe. Also,
it's crazy.
The latest Indiana Jones movie, John Williams' last movie as a composer. He's retiring after this one.
Hey man,
He's done well.
what a career! What a career!
From Jaws to Superman, Indiana Jones, and Jurassic Park. And
Damn.
he also did.
What a resume!
And he also did the score, I think, for the first 2 Home Alone movies.
You know, I find it funny, like that Home Alone score and the first Harry Potter score. I mean, I know it's just it sounds very eerily similar a lot of the time. If you listen to the notes beat by beat.
The one piece in Home Alone 2 that it really pulls on the heartstrings is when he's going by the hospital. Oh, it's such a beautiful and touching score, but it gets you in the feels, especially when
go ahead. Go on.
Especially when Kevin's mother and him respectively are saying goodnight to each other.
Oh yeah.
Oh
man.
That got me.
Yeah, I also like. I kind of like how, you know, Kevin, especially when he was in Duncan's toy chest, and when he overheard Marv's like, and he said, "You can mess with a lot of things, but you cannot mess with kids on Christmas." I'm like, I like that.
Yeah.
Now it's a sequel, and okay, he's doing things the heroic ways that are just like, hey, this is my house, I defend it, which is also heroic in another way, but he's doing it for a better cause. And after that whole debacle, he does happy ending.
Yep.
Well, that's from the bill.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh man.
You spent $1,000 on hotel room service? Like, whoops. When Home Alone 2 falters in its attempts at mawkish sentimentality and it recaptured the original Christmas spirit, McAllister's friendship with Brenda Fricker's creepy yet misunderstood pigeon lady is nice, but it feels weirdly dated and out of sync with the rest of the movie's ironic madcap tone. There is also a subplot about a children's hospital which tries to pull on the heartstrings, just mentioned, but ultimately feels sincere and pandering, and while the movie doesn't necessarily shy away from honesty in its depiction of Hurd and O'Hara's neglectful parenting, Kevin is frequently saddled with the burden of protecting his parents' feelings, never once being told that what happened isn't his fault. Near the end of the film, there is a mutual apology between him and his mother, even though one feels very strongly that Kevin shouldn't have had to apologize at all. I'm kind of going to have to... Yeah, I'm going to have to go with that on that one.
Especially when they bleed Buzz over him. Like, I don't know, this is the same shit y'all did last... Okay, even though Kevin did fuck up the ticket. But you get the gist of things. Like, he's the youngest, so, you know, he always gets the short end of the stick. So, and something the family was too bold. If it was me and a black family, I would get my ass whooped.
Yeah, it's knowing how to pick your battles.
Yup.
Should Kevin's parents have been reported to the police or the DCF? The answer is yes.
DPS, yes, absolutely.
The most shocking thing about Home Alone 2 is how critically reviled it was when it came out. Readers who hold this film near and dear might be surprised to learn that it has a 35% score on Rotten Tomatoes. Who cares what they think? And in the 30 years since it was released, the movie has not been reevaluated in any significant way, while similarly hated films like Pink Flamingos, The Shining, and Blue Velvet have been heralded as masterpieces. Now, is Home Alone 2 a timeless classic of American cinema? Perhaps not, but the bottom line is now it's gotten the love that it sorely deserves. I agree with that.
It's one of the Christmas movies that constantly being played. I mean, before that it was A Christmas Story.
Yeah,
still being played.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
It was this weekend. We've had the first Home Alone movies being played once or twice, I think, in our cinema because it's such a classic of Christmas.
Home Alone movies continue with diminishing returns, don't they ever?
Don't remind us.
It seems like everything that could be done with the Home Alone concept was accomplished with movie number 2. Very famously, Culkin and the rest of the cast have not returned since '92, except for older brother Buzz, played by Devin Ratry, Better Call Saul, who was recently accused of committing something very wrong.
Oh no.
On a more light-hearted note, Home Alone 3 features Lenny Don Von Dolan from the original Twin Peaks series, as well as a 13-year young Scarlett Johansson. I did not know that.
What?
I remember. Yeah. Also, it's funny when Disney airs it. Avengers, Scarlett Johansson stars in Home Alone 3. Yeah, but she's not the star.
And for what it's worth, the late Roger Ebert preferred that one over the first two. Interesting. And guess what? The franchise is still going. Just last year, the 6th entry in the series, entitled Home Sweet Home Alone, was released by Disney+.
Dear God, 6?
Yeah.
Yikes.
The script was penned by SNL writers Mike Day and Street Seidel, but needless to say, it did not generate a lot of positive buzz. Well, I can't say I'm surprised, because modern comedy
I wonder why.
modern comedy is not funny. One must indeed ask, on a conceptual level, of what more stories are there to be tell beyond Lost in New York. Kevin has already left at home once, and then he was left to fend for himself on the streets of Manhattan. Should we abandon him in the rainforest next? Set him shipwrecked out to sea, or strand him on a distant planet? Clearly, creators have found ways to mine more material out of this concept, but nothing quite approximates the chemistry, fairy tale quality, and utterly bonkers violence of those first two films. And as medical professionals, and as medical professionals have pointed out, Harry and Marv would have died after those first few accidents.
Oh yeah. From the first one, they would require severe surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one, the second one, where Kevin sets up a catapult, where Marv unknowingly launches Harry through and hits the car. He'd be dead.
Yeah, you could make that same argument. You could make that same argument with what happened with Bruce and Rachel in The Dark Knight. It's like, I'm sorry, they're dead on contact. With what happens, like, Bat should not be alive.
Yeah.
Like, you could have had the grapple hook as well.
I gotta say, one question before we wrap up. Which movie's traps were the most brutal?
I'd say the second movie.
Yeah, I'm half and half, leaning half in the first one. Oh God, especially what happened to Harry's hand. Oh God.
Yeah, and then
I still laugh at that, but oh God, that imagine going through that.
I don't. Which one was it that ended up stepping on the Christmas decorations?
That was
the first one.
Yeah,
that was the first one. That was Marv doing that.
Yeah, I've had something like that happen to me before. It is painful as anything.
And the fact that he
I had that happen to me. Ow.
And the fact that he stepped foot into a nail. Ooh.
God, that's. But yeah, I will agree. The second movie was definitely more brutal. Oh God, the shit that happened to Marv, man, especially with the damn staple gun. Ooh.
I like how when he's going to go to the door handle, he just sort of lightly sort of pats it. It's like, okay, it's not hot. It's like, but then he goes in and there's a flame torch on his hat, and then he sticks his head into a toilet with kerosene.
Oh God, he could have been dead on arrival with that one.
And the fact that the stunt guy decided to, dunk his head into the toilet. It's like, flames go up. He was already burning his neck, and I'm like, you're a moron. I'm sorry, but you're a moron.
Yeah.
Ugh. Gosh dang. Okay, let's see. What to have a look at. Oh boy. We are going to have opinions now.
Oh no. What is it this time?
Shit. Here we go.
What went wrong in Phase 4 of the MCU? Where to
how much time
Do you want?
How much time you got?
Do you want a list?
Right.
MCU's Phase 4 saw the entire franchise encountering some major issues that resulted in a mixed bag of movies and TV series. Here's what went wrong. It's been fairly clear to the majority of fans that the MCU has had a pretty bumpy ride, both critically and commercially. Many have complained about Phase 4 in particular now, and how the films and Disney Plus series haven't put their forth the best quality since the start of this new phase. According to CinemaScore, Thor Love and Thunder and Eternals received the lowest scores in the franchise, with one getting a B+, and the other getting a B. Even on Rotten Tomatoes, who cares what they think? We have had our first rotten MCU movie in Eternals, while Love and Thunder managed a 66% in critical reviews. It is clear looking at these numbers that the MCU is not in a great place. On top of that, the MCU's competition at DC has had a much better track record with the release of the Snyder Cut of Justice League and The Batman being a much better film. Yes it is. Better film that many people were initially expecting it to be stronger competition put the MCU at a much higher disadvantage during this phase. Financially, the MCU... Oh, sorry. I think somebody's watching a football game downstairs or upstairs. Financially, the MCU films throughout Phase 4 were still mainly doing well, and with the COVID-19 pandemic closing down theaters at its height, it's understandable why some films weren't necessarily reaching the billion-dollar numbers others previously had. That said, even with these factors, Eternals is still one of the lowest box office totals for the MCU, making only about 164 million domestically. It is quite obvious right now that the MCU is having to learn on its past praise to get people out to theaters. But what happened to the MCU to make this a reality? Here are 5 things that hurt MCU's Phase 4. Quantity over quality. Well, we've been saying that for a while. One of the more obvious issues that can come up with creating multiple films in a franchise within a short amount of time is overexertion. And that is certainly the case for Phase 4 or the MCU. Between the new series on Disney Plus and the movies premiering in theaters, there was just too much content coming out at one time for there to be any real quality control at Disney offices. That's assuming that you can actually control quality at any given stage at this point. Sorry, not sorry. And it really shows with their overall output. I don't care. You know, Disney choose to insult their audience and do repackage after repackage after repackage, and it's like, and you wonder why people are flocking elsewhere. We've gone from about 11 movies within a phase to multiple movies a year, in addition to TV shows and now a special presentation film for a streaming giant. With such high quantities, something is going to turn out not as good as the rest. And when you make Iron Man 3 look like Oscar bait, you know you've done fucked up. Indeed, much of MCU's Phase 4 scrutiny was directed at the lackluster visuals, a sign of the franchise's VFX teams being overworked and faced with impossible deadlines. A lot of people have actually quit the VFX industry as a result. Just to match the planned output. What's more, quantity over quality ultimately lessens each release feeling like an event or something to look forward to, as it was during the Infinity Saga. Agreed with that. The effects of the world event. The Crisis. Yes. The Crisis undoubtedly played a huge part in why MCU's Phase 4 was so poorly received. Unexpected changes had to be made throughout production in order to meet safety guidelines and protocols. Shows and movies had to be delayed and others pushed forward, causing some mess-ups in the overall feeling of the phase. The Falcon and Winter Soldier was especially affected, delaying production in Prague in 2020, with an entire story point where the villains had to be changed in order to fit with the post-world event. WandaVision 2 reportedly had to pivot from an initially planned 10-episode arc, resulting in a finale that felt rushed and open-ended. The loss of Steve and Tony. This was always
Enough said.
This was always going to be an issue for the MCU, particularly immediately after Avengers Endgame. With the loss of such iconic characters, you are basically having to start from the bottom and introduce brand new characters that people can connect to. The issue with this is that the new characters will always be compared to the previous, and if they can't live up to expectations, they will fail. Many have been critical of characters like America Chavez in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, or Riri Williams, aka Ironheart, in Black Panther. And also Ironheart is the name of a adult entertainment Iron Man parody. And they still went ahead with that name. It's like, wow, Marvel, wow. In Black Panther and Wakanda Forever. In an article by AV Club, America is criticized for being surprisingly passive for long stretches of the film in which the character is given very little to do. And very little is achieved overall, with her character being her plot device for the film to get the Avengers we know from place to place. This is a very poor use of a character that many fans have been excited to see throughout, brought to life. Not experimental enough. Eternals was the first time Marvel really started to experiment with their formula and do something truly unique and different, but there are other projects that the MCU produced that seemed the same way, such as WandaVision or Moon Knight, but neither of those stories went far enough. Moon Knight and WandaVision both gave up on their initially different concept for big set action pieces in the end in order to fit with the overall franchise. In fact, this is something that She-Hulk Attorney at Law criticized itself, which many signal a change going forward. Nonetheless, the MCU formula has ultimately made a lot of Phase 4 movies and TV series feel cookie cutter. Kevin Feige spread too thin. This is the biggest factor. It goes back to the issue of quantity of quality over quantity of quality. It was already revealed that Feige had a little oversight on Doctor Strange 2, who felt that the marketing of the film was too spoilery, like most of your movies lately. While Feige, as president of Marvel Studios, of course, has full creative control of the franchise, the reality is there is just too much content even for him. At the end of the day, some of it's just going to be isn't going to get the time where it needs to work on to be an excellent product. This was the cast with Mahershala Ali's Blade reboot, which halted pre-production in October as a result of creative differences and Feige not being fully present in its development. The question is now, will Phase 5 be enough to boost the MCU, or will they continue to the downward trajectory? It may at the moment feel like such questions are hard to tell right now. Okay. Sean's just said England is playing right now, so those noises were. Okay. In which case I don't care. Sean said I agree with Sean. Here's my take on this. It should have ended at Endgame.
Yes.
Because Iron Man's gone. Cap has retired. Yes, there are many more stories to tell, but when you have two of your biggest stars that the franchise revolves around, because, yeah, you're always going to have to go watch Spidey. You're always going to have people that will want to watch Ant-Man. You'll have people that will, love what they did with the first Black Panther. I hear a lot of mixed opinions with regards to the second one. And apparently even Chad...
Let me attest to that. I actually watched it, and for what it's worth, I liked it. I felt like the fight scenes were a little more better and constructed well over that CGI mess that was in the first movie. But yeah, I felt like that movie itself, especially they definitely paid tribute to Chadwick. I think.
One thing that Chadwick actually commented on before he passed away, he said, "I'd love to see the lineage and the legacy of my character get passed on. I want to see other people play it, and even his family. wanted to see, the legacy of T'Challa, be played by other actors. I tend to be of two minds. I mean, I've only ever seen 3 actors voice and play T'Challa live, respectively. I felt like the voice actors for Ultimate Avengers 2 and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, they represented T'Challa well. Made
There's
him...
also Black Panther motion comic, and the main and Black Panther was voiced by Diamond too. Before Chadwick, I kind of wanted him to be Black Panther, especially how he sounded.
And like I say, we had Chadwick debut in Civil War and then getting his own movie in, self-titled The Black Panther, and I thought, yeah, this guy is not only playing, a heroic badass, but the fact that he went so far to not only learn the accent, but also learn the language from one of his fellow actors so that he could be more authentic. And the studio never asked him to do that. He actually went out and learned with his castmate to actually teach him the language and what have you. And someone's going the extra mile when they don't want to just give what is required of them from the studio. They actually want to embody that character. They actually want to play that character in such a way that... I said this in a YouTube comment when I was looking at another Michael Jordan tribute video with Fly Like an Eagle. Someone is special when they inspire millions of generations of children to pick up a basketball because of the way he played. Chadwick has inspired many kids of this generation to look up to him as like, I want to be him. I want to be the Black Panther when I grow up. To be able to leave that that impactful impact on someone, you've done something right, and that you're something special.
Sorry.
Go on.
From what I understand from the production of Black Panther, he actually had a creative say of how Wakanda should look in terms of the design for the city and just a lot of other things involved in the film. That's how much he had for the love of the character.
It wouldn't surprise me if there was like a similar thing going on with Kendrick Lamar's The Stars Above, because
all the stars.
Yeah, I mean, SZA's lyrics are moving, and especially the way that she's dressed up and the way her hair's done up, she makes it look enchanting. But the visuals of that music video is something else. But whenever I go back to it now, whereas before when I first heard and saw the music video respectively, it's something so unheard of and something quite innovative. Now whenever you go back, it hits you very differently because of the fact that you associate that song so much with the character of T'Challa and Chadwick. Yeah.
Also, that whole video felt like... I mean, yes, Marvel's owned by Disney, but if you look at the whole visual, it definitely felt like an actual Disney movie. Because if you remember those especially in the Renaissance era, Like they go to music videos. I
Oh
don't
yeah.
I don't know. I like that visual aspect to it.
Yeah.
Sean just says, also, Hulk versus Loki will be the greatest fight in the MCU. There'll be no other fights that will top that.
Although I've got my own other thing. The article does go into some good points, but I've got some of my own which I think I need to address.
Go ahead.
Although
The typical cookie cutter formula that just is repeated so often with these Marvel films.
Mm-hmm.
The fact
Yeah.
that we have to keep the villains all sympathetic in
Yes.
some terms, just wiping away some of the actions that they do and saying, "Oh, we still need to pity for them." No, you don't.
Right.
I mean,
And
with Loki in the first Thor movie, I get it, but when you do that for Quentin Beck in Spider-Man Far From Home, and then you do that for... Now, to be fair, from what I heard from Love and Thunder, Christian Bale actually played a very good villain, but you do see his reason for going on the killing spree, because, he had his family taken from him, and, as The Undertaker once said, mess with my family and I will hurt you.
But that brings up another problem.
You mentioned family. Sorry, Steve. Like, we just went through Black Panther. Like, okay, Killmonger. You get why he's doing all this because dad got murdered, but his dad just messed up stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But like, I don't know. It just leans in towards like, you get why he's doing all this, but the way he's doing it is messed up. But I don't know. Yeah, I do agree, Steve. Like you have to have a sympathetic villain. It's like it's getting old, especially with the MCU formula.
Yeah.
It's time to stop.
With Gore the God Butcherer, he's more recent in the Thor comics, and the story that he had nearly put the entire Marvel universe on the line. Not just in terms of Thor, and the character is so vastly downgraded from what he is in the comics.
It's what Marvel do. They like to put their own personal spin on it rather than just tell the stories
They always do that.
Yeah. For me, one of the biggest crimes of Phase 4 was Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness.
I have heard horror stories about this.
Oh my god, I watched that movie. I actually watched that movie.
Bringing up legacy characters and characters that had just been featured in spin-off media, only for them to be murdered off by an angry Scarlet Witch.
Oh god.
What a complete waste of hype.
Damn.
Why they have my man Xavier die multiple times? Like, what the hell?
No.
And at the end of it, I didn't really care for Scarlet Witch anymore.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've said this so many times. After Endgame, I said I'm only hanging around for Spidey because, and I do agree with Kaiju's comments last week. If it wasn't for the nostalgia element in No Way Home, it wouldn't have been as successful. But
yeah,
particularly for Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man, he needed some closure and some redemption, and I was so glad he actually got that.
Yeah, you're not the only one.
Same goes for some villains. Like, same goes for some villains like Doc Ock. Like, even after everything, he wants to eat. After Peter helps him out, fixing that thing that made him crazy in the first place. Yeah, he in the end helped out the heroes. Also Sandman to an extent,
Yeah.
and Electro. Also, yeah, Electro needed the most fixing because oh my god, I've heard horror stories about Spider-Man too.
Mm.
Amazing Spider-Man too.
I do find it interesting how Toby's greatest nemesis from his Spider-Man days ended up possibly becoming the greatest nemesis of this current Spider-Man. But it just
Yeah.
goes to
Oh man.
but it just goes to show Willem Dafoe has yet to be topped as the Goblin.
Yeah. Also, yeah, that
Yes.
tail end of the fight, the symbolism of that whole fight, man. I was like, oh shit. I remember seeing this when I was. I mean, seeing that and going back when I saw Spider-Man the original theaters. Wow, that was surreal.
Mm.
And one nice
And sorry.
and one nice touching moment is when Octavius is holding the arc reactor, goes, "The power of the sun in the palm of your hand, Peter. Otto, you're all grown up. Well, it's good to see you, dear boy. How are you? Trying to do better." And I'm like, and the fact that he had, we rag on Elfman, but the fact that he had the score from Spider-Man 2 playing in the background, I was like, that's a nice touch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But yeah, the way that movie was done, I mean, yeah, it was a love letter to all things Spider-Man in movies and what have you. And this is something that me and Random disagree over. He thinks Spidey should not have the technical gadgets that he had from Tony Stark. Here's the thing. Stark was basically Peter's, surrogate father, for lack of a better description. And he's just trying to see this kid prosper with things that he didn't really have growing up. And looking at it from in the point of view, yeah, Spider-Man, he says Spider-Man's always supposed to be down on his luck, and I'm like, yeah, but even the people who are the most noblest and most selfless, sometimes they deserve a break. And when he got given the high-tech suit, I'm like, no, you know what? He deserves this. Let him have this one.
Depends which writer is writing him at the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are some Spider-Man writers that should not be anywhere near the character, say, oh, Spider-Man shouldn't have romance, he should be always lonely and not get lucky. It's like, no, when you see characters settle down and start a family, that produces vulnerabilities, and that produces potential new stories to tell. It's like somebody went into the Superman story and purposely split Superman and Lois up, and I'm just like, why you gotta be petty? I mean, with Batman, you get it. There's a reason why he's a loner, because there are plenty of people in Gotham that want his head on a pike. But with Spidey, he's a kid. All he wants is, to be able to protect the people he loves and settle down with his sweetheart, but Gwen over Mary Jane. I'm sorry, no disrespect to Zendaya. Kirsten Dunst, the person, I don't really have any ill will with, but her version of Mary Jane, no, sorry, no, I'm done with her. Because Emma Stone's Gwen Stacy, love that woman, adore her. Because, she's not just a pretty face, but she's somebody who's just as intelligent as he is, but she also won't tolerate his shit. And I like that. It's just like, it's being a strong female role without it feeling preachy or or pandering. It's like she's a strong girl just because she's a strong girl. She's not trying to preach or, you know, put out a message. It's like, she's a strong girl. Let's just go. And that's what I like. Whereas Zendaya's Michelle, I think by the time Far From Home ended and we were going into No Way Home, I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with her now. But when she first came out, I'm like, girl, please shut up. It's like, I don't like you. It's like, you're just being bitchy for the sake of being bitchy. But hey, that's just me for you. And the fact that at the end of Homecoming she says, oh, some people call me MJ. I'm like, oh, hell no. Like, no, 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 no. That'd be like, let's say there's one particular actress that Raiden has an eye for, and at the end of it, she says as an ending, but some people call me Kim K. It'd be like, oh girl, no, you're not going down that road.
Oh yeah, that's PTSD.
Nuh-uh.
If it was, say, you know, a girl who is nicknamed Beyonce, but it's based on a younger version of Beyonce from, say, like early 2000s, like, you know, okay, we're current Beyonce. I'm indifferent, but leading to no, girl, you go over in that corner. No, yeah, you go in that corner. No. You go have your you know, little ego party and what have you, but. Yeah. With regards to the MCU going forward, the stuff that, you know, that Lids has pointed out with She-Hulk, they need to stop it with the pandery, preachy messages. Because, sorry, if you're doing comedy, you have to make people laugh in spite of themselves, but with themselves. But when you do a thing where it's kind of forcing a preached message down your throat, that's when it's like, nah, stop. Just stop. And the fact that Chris Hemsworth says he wants nothing to do with the director of Thor Love and Thunder ever again.
Yeah.
He says he's done with him.
You know it's a problem.
Yeah. I think the whole humor aspect is pretty much getting tired at this point. I wasn't a fan of Thor Ragnarok, and the humor didn't really do anything for me in Love and Thunder.
I mean, when it's, you know, Iron Man humor where, you know, RDJ's not even trying to be funny, he's just funny without trying. I think, in terms of humor, I think the most balanced examples of how you can do serious movies but have those moments of levity, Batman Begins being one of them, and the first Mummy movie with Brendan Fraser, because you're able to have those horror moments, but there's those humorous moments that lighten the tension. And here's the thing, if you want to do comedy, okay, do a movie that's not trying to be serious and trying to be a Marvel movie, and just do the comedy stuff. But it just needs to go back to where the humor is just used very sparingly, and to where it's just where it needs to be. Like if you've had like a really dark moment and you have someone go, oh, we've been through worse things, you know, it's there just to sort of put a quick smile on your face, and then you're back into the action. I'm not saying that we need to have people going to a point of it's so serious, like it's people reading morbid poetry on their MySpace page back in the day. I'm not saying that we need to go to that level. We just need a balance. I mean, Spider-Man No Way Home did the humor and the serious aspects decent. We just need to, like I say, find a moment, these movies, where not everything is a joke, not everything is a quip. And this is one of the reasons Random stopped watching. And I saw his read part of his review for She-Hulk. Oh, good lord, he did not pull any punches.
I can tell.
Well, it's random. He usually tells it like it is.
You damn right. I mean, let's say they go ahead with the Blade reboot, but they try to make Blade something like, I don't know, the first Scary Movie. Do you imagine what that's gonna do to people? Raiders be like, what you doing to my guy? It's like,
Yeah, and I've watched Scary Movie. Oh my god.
first movie, definitely over the second movie. Third movie was a good redemption, and I heard about what went on the fourth movie. I'm like, I'm out.
Yup, I've heard that too. It only took me 3 movies and I was out for it. I saw half this. Oh my god.
Yeah. And this is the thing, though. I think, although I did hear from Double Toasted with the parody movie of the Fast and the Furious with Superfast, he actually upgraded his rating from an FU to this is some old bullshit, which I thought, okay. You know, I was sort of expecting Corey to still go in on it, but he's like, okay, some improvements have been made. And it's like, okay. Also, the way they reacted to the trailer for Coca-Cola Bear.
Oh man. That right there solidified. Okay, I need to watch this.
I like when the guy's dusting the stuff off of him, the bear looks at smells and looks like, hey bitch, you hold it.
Oh man. Oh my god.
I see this show up in my feed Wednesday afternoon. I'm like, what is this? I get through the trailer and I'm like, I need to see this. I need to see this. Liz sees the trailer and she's like, I'm in. I would bring the trailer into here, but again, we're not large enough at this moment to be able to do reactions like that. It's one of the reasons I don't live stream the reviews in here, just because I don't know how Twitch are with these things. But oh good lord, I mean, if there weren't so many uses of the N-word on SSJ's parody videos of what if Goku and Vegeta were black, I'd probably bring a few of those in there because Raiden's seen a few of those and poor guy was needing oxygen. Did you see the one where he and Vegeta encounter Goku Black?
Yes.
I like how he gets, his card vetoed just for doing the Carlton dance. I'm like, oh, come on, just for that? I like when they're listening for the video games, like, what video games you play? Smash Bros. Mm-hmm. Call of Duty. Mm-hmm. Spider-Man. Miles Morales. Ah. Folks, have you ever seen like SSJ's videos? They are absolutely brilliant, especially with Goku and Vegeta saying that what was it? Froku and Nap Jita. I showed that to Raiden first time. Him and Lids were crying their eyes out, especially at the end of one video where they restore the Dragon Balls, but instead of Shenron, it's Shen Juan with the Mexican national anthem, wearing a sombrero with a mustache, and I'm like, should I be? I'm like, should I be laughing at this? Poor Liz. She didn't know whether to be offended or laugh herself into a stupor. Oh god. Oh my goodness.
Has anybody seen the Rise of the Beast trailer?
Yeah.
I have. I'm intrigued.
Yep.
Oh, and one of the Paramount execs a few years ago said, no one wants to see a Beast Wars movie. Someone's like, hold my beer. So for next year, it's that and Ghostbusters 3. They're going to be the big movies because Ghostbusters 3 is coming out this time next year. Not Ghostbusters 3, Ghostbusters 4, excuse me, because we've had third Ghostbuster movies, but only one of them we acknowledge.
Yes.
And Across the Spider-Verse.
Oh yeah.
Yay!
Which is going to be part 1.
Mm-hmm. And then I think it's the year after we're gonna get Across the Spider-Verse. No, wait, no. Beyond the Spider-Verse. Sorry.
Because I know a lot of it is going to be like in the 90s animated Spider-Man. You got to bring Christopher Daniel Barnes back for that. You have to.
Damn straight.
Oh yeah.
I think we'll probably end it here because I've got to start thinking about getting ready for work. We will definitely take the the highlighted points with regards to audio, but as I've tried to state, because the audio was using copyrighted songs and Twitch are a little bit stricter with the usage of that, you have to pick your moments carefully, because Nuclear Shark actually had one of her live streams entirely muted because she was playing Katy Perry songs in the background, and I'm like,
it was sorry,
and I'm like, it's like, this is why if you're using stuff of music that's copyrighted, either turn it down low to a point where it's audible, and then you have the link in the chat for other people to go to it so that they can then sync up, and it's like, okay, we can work with this. But yeah, I've had a couple of instances where Twitch has muted parts of my live stream because it was using it detected something that was copyrighted, even though some of it was actually royalty free. Now I don't know the specifics of how something royalty free counts as copyrighted, but it's not for me to say. I'm not a copyright legal expert, so. And again, it's one of the reasons why, until we grow a little bit more on Twitch, this is one of the reasons why I don't bring stream the visuals from my reviews in here, because you don't want to get struck down before you even get started. Even though I'm getting there at 57 followers, you have to pick and choose your battles carefully. I mean, and this is just me calling it like it is. This is why I'm not 100% sure it's a wise idea for Oni to be streaming audio from WWE pay-per-views in the background, considering how strict WWE can be under the old guard or the current one.
Take you out in a second.
I think if it's like where it's in the background and you've got the volume enough to where you can make out what's going on, but most of your commentary is going over it, that's fine. But again, Twitch is not YouTube. Twitch is very strict with regards to copyright, so again, you have to pick your battles and your moments carefully. It'd just be nice if there was a thing on the volume mixer where whenever I go into Twitch, the Discord and the Google volume are set accordingly and what have you, because audio's always been a bit of an issue in here. It's not so much when we were streaming on YouTube, but it's like anything, you know, sometimes you have to find your feet in what works, because there's no success before failure. People that are successful are people that have failed first, because they're still trying to figure out how to make it work. And I think that's something that even Arnold Schwarzenegger said in one of his motivational videos. It's like, don't be afraid to fail, because failing means you just haven't succeeded yet. You just have to work at it until you get to where you need to be. And on that note, we'll call it a day. We're back again next week, same time of 6 p.m. UK, 1 p.m. Eastern, and 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. And as always for this week, for Dark Knight Tuesdays and Jurassic Wednesdays, I'll be streaming live from midnight in the UK, 7 p.m. Eastern, and 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And I just want to make people aware, Christmas week, I may be shifting Dark Knight Tuesday and Jurassic Wednesday to Friday and Saturday respectively, IRL. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to give specifics because nothing serious, it's just some things have been switched around, and that's all the information I'm going to give at this time, of which I'll coordinate with Ruby and let him know this and this is happening on these nights, what have you, and, you know, we'll just go from there. Although, according to Ruby, I'm in the end game with regards to Arkham City. Thank the good Lord for that.
Did you have to collect all the Riddler trophies?
Oh no, I'm skipping that. I'm not going through. I'm not. I ain't
What about the people that the Riddler's captured?
It's just a game, dude. I'm not going through that torture that drove my brother to go crazy and only to go crazy-er. Because I'm sorry, if I was able, if there's some sort of interdimensional portal to hop between multiverses, and you go into the universe that the Arkham Riddler is, it'd be like me and Raiden is like, this is for all the Riddler trophies, asshole. And then Raiden'd be like, I'm gonna slap you up like the bitch you are. And he's just like, oh man, don't get me started. Don't get me started. And his own night pops like, hey, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're in the Arkhamverse. We just beat up the Riddler for Riddler. I was like, stand back! Yeah. So, yeah. The next 2 weeks, I think it's regular and normal. And because I'm not going to get into too many personal specifics, but I've had a little bit of a problem waking up in the afternoon, especially with how cold it's been over here. Steve, you can relate to this. It's been real cold over here. And it's just much cozier and much more pleasant just to sit up in bed and just watch videos, movies, what have you. But this week I will be getting to work on the voiceovers for Sonic the Hedgehog. I was planning to make this a Jim Carrey themed month, whereby I would review The Mask and Sonic, but because it's going to be a little bit topsy-turvy over the next few weeks, I'm just going to put my sole focus on getting Sonic finished, and the end of year panel. Oh yeah, I've heard, Sean. And because next weekend is the end of year panel, which we'll go over in Discord over the week, what movies we're going to be putting in, what have you. So let me just see a second. So next week is the 11th. So yeah, I've got 2 weeks to do the voiceovers for Sonic, get that put together and finished off. So yeah, the end of year panels next Sunday, and then our season finale, which will be episode 195 will be our season finale, because Sunday, Christmas morning, I'm not getting up.
Me neither.
I'm not going to be pushing myself to the extreme like I did last year, because in the run up to Christmas Day, I was only averaging about 4 hours of sleep per night. Folks, don't ever do that. That plays so much, messed up stuff with your back, because the less sleep you get, the more back problems you get. So, yeah. Get Sonic finished. That'll be all ready and done. And then real features will be gone until March time, because I actually want to put in the time and take my time slowly with this one, because January, people are still working off Christmas and starting to look at, like, oh, them bills and what have you. But yeah. Until next week, I have been the Knight, saying good night from the night. Stephen.
Yeah? Oh.
Your piece.
Bye, everybody.
See ya.
Yep. Nobody to raid this evening, so yeah, we're just gonna go out and call it a day. So thanks for tuning in, folks, and yeah, we will work on the audio, but as I stated earlier, because some of it's using copyright stuff, don't poke the hot stuff on Twitch. It's not worth it.
As the saying goes, don't bite the hand that feeds you.
No, considering I'm trying to get on the affiliate ladder, not the wisest idea to, ruin my chances before it starts. Anyway. See you next week.
Take care.